Well, this is the beginning of the in-person and also the Zoom classes for this 22nd annual summer retreat on Crystal Mountain here, Crystal Mountain Society on Galiano Island. So when we come together in retreat, both those that are online, those that are in the tent, we have an amazing opportunity. And as I mentioned last night, when we have classes, and I'm speaking traditionally, you see it certainly clearly laid out in Dzogchen texts and Mahamudra texts, but when we come together, we have the extraordinary opportunity to break down the conceptual barrier that we have, that meditation is one thing, a Dharma class is another, preparing food in the tent is something else, driving a car is something else, and so on. So if you can make every opportunity an opportunity for unfolding awakeness and liberation for other beings, now we're talking a practitioner. Okay? So when we come together, we have to understand that everybody in this tent and everybody online on Zoom has a different conceptual world. They don't have the same view. They don't have the same view of meditation. They don't have the same view of liberation, awakening. They don't have the same life view. Different ages, different conditioning, different cultures, very different histories. And yet we look at each other and we go, yeah, you'll think like I do. Anybody who studies history knows that that's just their history, both their own culture, their own world history, but others, you'll discover they may be human. They may be a dog. They may be a cat, a giraffe, a raccoon, but a very different world. There's a wonderful book, I forget the title right now, by Ed Young. It just came out not long ago. Beautiful book, where he it's a whole book on the study of different animals' perception. Not just big animals, but little animals. How every single creature has different perceptual life experiences, including us. This is very important. How we experience the world, our conditioning history, is how we're going to meditate. We think the technique is it. It's not the technique. The technique is really important. I teach classic, excellent technique. But what shapes the technique, what shapes the envelope of meditation, what shapes the envelope of the experience and growth in Dharma, of awakening, is not the technique. It's the cultural human conditioning that one can't see, which is like a soup, like an ecosystem in you and around you that you bring to every moment of experience, but it's invisible to us. Okay? So, it's my duty as a Dharma teacher to help you in an opportune space, an opportune tent, an opportune, amazing retreat environment, to take the opportunity to help that historic intent that you have and help move it by being with me, by being with all of us, hearing the Dharma, and moving it to a place little bit by little bit, like gears, not in a digital clock, but one of these, gears, little bit by little bit, refining, retuning the mental intent of what liberation, freedom, awakening, meditation, Dharma classes, retreat actually is. That's more important than anything else. I guarantee it. I'm beginning to speak like an elder, you know. Just want to shorten it for you. So we have meditation, and we have classes. We have kitchen things, we have other things that we do. They're appearances. Your job is to find that which never changes. You've heard there's impermanence. Only impermanence? Yes, you've heard that. Maybe that's not true. Wouldn't that be cool? Wouldn't that be cool? All you Buddhists? Wouldn't that be cool? That there is no impermanence. No, there's the appearance of impermanence. But I'm going to ask you, for today, maybe for many, many years, what is it that doesn't actually change? Maybe what people are doing is they're focusing on the change. Maybe there's something happening that's already free. It's already unbound. That's the topic for today. The distinguishing quality of liberation. So we're going to start right from the top. The distinguishing quality of liberation, of experience of liberation, is the ability to know, not intellectually, but by the guts, by the gut knowing, the difference between states and experiences and the unchanging, unborn, unexcelled nature of mind. Doesn't come, doesn't go, isn't born, but is absolutely free of any confusion, suffering, and mental afflictions. That's really it. It sounds simple, but actually it takes training. Why? Because even if you experience the non-dual, the non-differentiated, the unborn, you can get fooled to think that's it. When in fact, in that nature, in that quality, in one's mind's nature, is the most extraordinary majesty, luminous qualities of liberation. That's what we're going for. Right? So as Namajim Rinpoche said, if you are so blessed to experience and reach arahata, that is free of all your emotional defilements, and arahat, then you're beginning. You're beginning the path. Isn't that extraordinary? Beginning the path of what? Unfolding those qualities for the benefit of all sentient beings. This is key. So, everything is intent. The intent mind, which most of it is invisible to us. It's partly why we meditate, do retreats. So we reveal that which is hidden to us. The intent mind drives everything. It also drives the meditation experiences. It drives how you are in this tent, how you are online in your home. Yeah? It drives everything. The refining of mental intent, the mental activity, which exhibits itself in body activity, speech, how we walk, how we talk. That refining is like refining gold out of rock. It's like extracting diamonds, 1 carat of diamonds out of 1 ton of rock, grinding it specially, treating it. So eventually, a little tiny diamond comes down on a grease conveyor belt. But it requires opening, grinding, refining. So the duty, the obligation of the Lama, of the spiritual guide, is to be in the quality of the 6 paramita. They should be. If you have a teacher that is experienced, qualified, then they should be exhibiting, manifesting, to a high degree, the 6 paramita. That is generosity, virtue, ethics, energy, patience, meditative ability, natural meditative ability, and relative and some experiences of transcendent wisdom. Your duty, do you know you had a duty, eh? You have a job description? I have a job description, you've got a job description. I'm kind of joking, but kind of like that. Your job duty is to be in the space of that and match that. That's how it works. That's how it worked with my teachers. And as some of you probably know from stories of Namjir Rinpoche, if you didn't match it, you might find yourself out of the tent or the building pretty fast. He was pretty strict. Remember that, some of you? You wouldn't even know why. Out. Out. What do you mean, what? Out. 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 Come back in a week. Come back in a day when you figured it out. I'm not like that, you know. So potential. So we have an amazing opportunity to grow together, to learn together. By every time we come together, we don't make a separation between the class and meditation. That doesn't mean that you sit now, come to class. I've seen this. Whole room full. Like deer before the headlights. You know the deer here? I think I'll just jump in front of the car. Have you noticed they've gotten a little weird lately? Mm-hmm. Years and years and years where the deer would actually peacefully go off the side or just stand while the car drives by. But suddenly this summer, I don't know what it is. I don't think the parents are teaching the children very well. But literally turning their back on the car and then suddenly as the car goes by, jumping in front of the car. It's really something. So please be careful. Well, you're in retreat, but those who are driving, please be careful. They're exhibiting odd behavior. And that, of course, there's a bit of a parable, there's a bit of a metaphor in that of odd behavior, things that don't work so well and jumping in front of cars. So we have this amazing opportunity, and also those who are on Zoom, we have a wonderful opportunity to look at, and this isn't moral, this is not moralizing, look at our body, speech, and mind and find a way in a natural way, not weird, not like this, but just natural, relaxed way to be in the space of what is appropriate and liberative and awakening. Fantastic, eh? Those are called the six parami. Those are very beautiful. So all you yogis and yoginis, we are working together to find this unborn, this exalted quality which all of us have, which we've all been born with, and find it. And once you find it, then you open it and open it and open it. Like some of you who are in this room and on Zoom have discovered it and are on a journey to open it up. Hello, neighbor.
Hello.
Good to see you. It's great.
Thank you for not kicking me out.
Pardon?
Thank you for not kicking me out.
I wouldn't do that. And also your qualities are excellent, so they contribute to everybody. So remember, it's interdependent. It's absolutely interdependent. Your qualities, what you bring in here, in the space, yeah, rise to the occasion. What you bring in the space is affecting every other being in the room. This is not about guilt. It's about practice. Your individual freedom is not a big concern to me. Your interdependent freedom is of concern. Your mind and its effect on other beings is very powerful. So, when you come here, we have a responsibility to help everybody. This may have something to do with vaccines too, if I may. But you have a responsibility to realize that everything that you do has an effect on other beings, and you can shape beings very, very deeply by your posture, by the feelings in your mind, by what you're emanating, what you're manifesting. It's fantastic. So when we talk about intent, before we come to the pith texts I want to introduce you today, when we talk about intent, we're also talking about refining the view of liberation. The soul intent in the Yangzab, the soul intent, which is what? Awakening for the liberation of all sentient beings. Why? Not only is the recognition, which we'll come to this week quite a bit, the recognition that all beings are in the same boat. They're on the same ship. They're going through the same thing. But the biggest impediment is our selfish view, is the clinging to what we want, what we need, our attachments, our clinging, and so on. And this is very hard, especially in a society that teaches that you by clinging and attachment, you get happy. It's not true. So refining the view will lead you, not because I'm brainwashing you, not because I'm instilling a view, but by hearing the view, you eventually recognize that the view is unspeakable. It's not just words. It's profound intent that goes beyond the conceptual mind. That's what we're aiming for. So as I mentioned, refining the view is like extracting diamonds from hard rock. Does this kind of make sense? Hard rock? Sometimes tight, bound. Hard rock. Unfortunately, sometimes we don't know that we're hard rocks, that we're, a little inflexible, that we're a little bit asleep, we're a little bit rigid, and I'm not talking about body flexibility, that's possible, but that our conceptual view about who we are, where we're going, what we are, what we should be doing, and so on. You hear those words? Should be, what we should be, what we shouldn't be, who we are, what we are, and so on. That rigidity of conceptual framework shapes our entire experience. Like a hard rock that doesn't appear like a hard rock. So, the most precious thing that we can do is to come together but also hear essential instructions. Really important, essential instructions. Again and again, in the beginning, the middle, and the end of our journey, essential instructions that are liberative. And those instructions we realize are coming from the natural meditative mind of awakeness. And I have a beautiful one for you this morning, the Nibbana Sutta. Most amazing short discourse by Shakyamuni Buddha on the essence, which we have to unpack this week. So how we make our journey of liberation, of awakening, is very much, have you noticed that sometimes like this? Because of all the different texts and teachings and teachers and paths, right? It can be like this and around like this and around like that. Yeah, it's interesting. It reminds me, I wanted to bring you a story. Actually, I think Raphael was there for this story, and he probably has a different experience of this, but I'll tell you about a funny journey and why the guide, the being that has a lot of experience, not necessarily me, but a spiritual mentor, is very important. And so I'm going to give you a little bit of a quick story of how difficult it can be, and how easy life can seem, but not. Raphael and I had a meeting to go to in Italy one day. And we were on one side of Italy, and the meeting was on the other side in Naples at a Marine Institute. We had a meeting set up for the afternoon. I think it was like 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock. And we thought we could do it no problem at all. We drive from one side to Italy to the other side of Italy after getting off from Croatia, off ferry, and just drive across and make it for the meeting. It's just, sure, easy. We have a map. We can get there. One little difficulty we didn't think about with our maps. You know those days when you had maps? Maps. Or GPS that goes down, your internet goes down, but anyways, maps. Is in Naples, the road, the names of the roads are up in marble, up on the buildings. What we didn't know is that the acid rain had eaten away most of the names. You couldn't read them. So here we are, we enter Naples, and we get to this meeting, and we can't find our way. So we think, okay, we'll ask these bright people on the street where this research institute is, very famous research is on the coast of the Mediterranean, very famous, been there for years. It's like saying, where's the Empire State Building in New York? Don't know. You're on your own. We asked somebody else, oh, it's down there. Well, of course, not quite down there, but follow that road. Well, you can't read the road signs. Well, we eventually made it, yes. Mm-hmm. We eventually made it, asking people. We eventually made it. And we got there, and very nice, they offered us. First thing they offered us was an espresso. Would you like a coffee? And I thought, okay, we've reached a civilized place. Okay, anyways. So you get the idea. Just because you meet somebody doesn't necessarily mean you'll get the right directions. And just because there are street signs giving you the way doesn't mean that they're so easy to read. So I hope you understand what this means. Finding the actual deep intent. Find the actual deep purpose, which is not just intellectual. It's a heartfelt experience. Takes time. It takes work. It takes time. It takes gathering many experiences to refine the view, to refine the mental intent. Once you have that, meditation for awakening goes easier and easier and easier. Without that, it's like bumping off street corners where the directions are all eroded because of acid rain. So there are a few Westerners I've met, very few, that have pure faith in awakening liberation. They don't really need to know where they're going. They just do it. Very, very few. It's not really part of our culture. I would say you probably want to know, why are you here? You would probably like me to tell you why you're here. Although you know why you're here, but maybe you don't really know why you're here. Mm-hmm. So it's really good to keep being reminded of where we're going. In the same way that when we set out with a journey, let's say to go to Alberta or to go to Ontario from Vancouver or Galiano Island, it's a really good idea to have an idea where we're going, or it can be a very long journey. Okay? This text today, the Nibbana Sutta, is a very clear indication of what meditation is, what the journey is, and it actually points out really the heart of liberation. So, beautiful. So I consider this one, every time I've opened it, read it, one of the most extraordinary instructions. But I want to warn you, there is a tendency among beings I see all the time, which is called, you've heard this, you all know the cherry picking? We love to cherry pick teachers' words. We love to cherry pick discourses. This is it. Lama, I've had this. Lama, would you tell me which meditation, the soul meditation I should do? What's the one thing I should do? What's the one important discourse of the Buddha that tells it all? It doesn't work like that. If you really want to have a feel for the Dharma, then you read all of the Buddha's discourses. If you really want to have a feel for Abhidhamma, Buddhist meditative philosophy of liberation, you don't just read the introduction, the first chapter. You have to read all of it, get a feeling for it. This sutta, like the Heart Sutta, is an extract that points in a certain direction. It's very high, which is a great way to start teaching. It's really high. But I want to give you an example. It's as if I say to you, all of meditation, all you need to do is let your mind rest in space. Because mind is like space. Is that straightforward? Fantastic. But it's not necessarily the whole picture. You will miss the compassion. You'll miss the loving kindness. You'll miss all kinds of things. So when you hear a discourse and you go, okay, that's it, or you hear a teacher teach, or you hear a recording or a video recording, you have to remember that the teaching given is at a certain occasion, a certain time, to certain beings. And resist the temptation to cherry pick as the answer. It's important to, as the Buddha said, to have a wide experience of Dharma and knowledge and handicraft and so on. Wide view. So you have a rounded feeling of the path. So if you discover space, let us say that you are sitting here one day or out there somewhere, and you discover that space is not only very peaceful, but very active and full of light and actually open. You'd say that's the end. That's right. That's it. Right, Lama? That's all you need to do. See what happens? No. Not at all. Not one bit. So, I would like you today to take this discourse called the Nibbana Sutta, which you're probably saying, when's he going to get there? But the Nibbana Sutta. And I want you to ask this question. It's pointing to something. What more is inherent in the unborn? So you've heard the word nirvana before? Nibbana? Nirvana. This tells you exactly what it is. That's a really good place to start, isn't it? If you're all meditating to experience and realize nirvana, which some people translate as peace, quietude, finale, emancipation, liberation, however it's translated, burnt out, all kinds of things, to burn off, to... What's it pointing to? Yeah. I would like you to find the qualities and not the end product. Do you follow? If there's space, what's the quality of space? How many qualities of space can you reveal? If you enter a tent, what's the predominant quality of this tent right now? What's the quality of this tent? The biggest thing that's happening in this tent right now. Not you. Space. But what's the inherent qualities of that space? So if you're interested, which is called loving kindness, if you're truly interested in unfolding Nibbana, you will investigate. You'll want to know. This is key. And that's love. So I hope all of you fall in love with liberation, fall in love with freedom, fall in love with Dharma. That's what Dharma means. It means freedom, it means liberation, liberation of the mind. Fall in love. Discover this most extraordinary path of investigation. Do you have two translations? I believe you do. I think two translations were made. The Tatiya Nibbana Sutta, or also called the Nibbana Sutta. One text has a subheading, if you wish, called Unbinding, but it's actually the Tatiya Nibbana Sutta. As far as I know, not taught very often, but one of my favorites. And you have two. One has just the English, and the other has both the English and a translation. Always remembering that now this is not going to be a translation class, okay? I'm not going to go through every word. I'm going to go through the important keywords, and the reason for this is because this is such an exalted text. It is such a high view of what meditation actually is. I want to start there. Okay? Could start with the Four Noble Truths, could start with the view of Mahamudra and so on, but this is of such a quality that if we go through it bit by bit by bit, I think you'll get a feeling for what we're on about in our practice. So from the one that says the Nibbana Sutta, Unbinding, I have heard that on one occasion, the Blessed One, that is Shakyamuni Buddha, was staying near Saravati at Jeta's Grove, Anapadika's monastery, and that on that occasion, the Blessed One, the Buddha, was instructing, urging, rousing, and encouraging the monks with Dharma talk, concerned with unbinding, the monks, the bhikkhus, receptive, attentive, focusing their entire awareness, lending ear. I've always loved that translation. Lending ear, I always feel it's like, not just like this, but I lend you, detached, lend you my ear, and there's a whole bunch of ears going around. A lending ear, listen to the Dharma. So it used to be, there's an old tradition, which still happens today, very old tradition, of being so attentive and meditatively in union with the discourse, with the teacher's body, speech, and mind, with everybody happening, that beings would become liberated, experience liberation, a degree of liberation, maybe not full liberation, a degree of liberation in the class, because they took the class as the most precious opportunity to awaken. Yeah. Long tradition, long history. Happens even today. Okay, then at this time, I go to the other one. Then at this time, as the Buddha often would say, at this time means an opportune moment to teach the Dharma. Not over a beer necessarily, not while you're having supper, but an opportune time when the beings coming to hear the Dharma are in an opportune, receptive mode to really get it. It's not casual. It's like walking down the street and someone says, so tell me what the Dharma is. You need good skill to do that. Otherwise, what do you say? In an opportune time, in opportune location, we will have an opportunity to hear the Dharma, but not just casual. So these bhikkhus, these wanderers in search of liberation, have the qualities of being receptive. This is saying, what do we need together? Receptive, attentive, focusing their entire awareness, listening really carefully here, not just here, listening deeply. What is the path of liberation? So he was instructing, rousing, enthusing, cheering. This is another translation, cheering. The words are samadipeti, which also means to incite. It's kind of cool. Not just rouse, but to incite. Samutajati means to gladden, not just enthuse, but to gladden. And so on. So to fill, literally to fill with enthusiasm is another translation of this. So instructing, rousing, enthusing, and cheering, like that. The bhikkhus with a dharma talk connected with emancipation. Now that word emancipation, in the text that's only in English, it has unbinding. But that's not actually, that's an interpretation. The actual word, the actual Pali is nibbana pati samutaya, which is not unbinding. It is the nature of unbinding, but it is nibbana pati. Pati is path. Pati is the path, the steps of freedom. The complete production, literally samutya, the production of the attainment of nibbana. So it's a very, if you want, liberal thing to do in a translation to say unbinding because it's kind of the topic, but it's actually not the translation. Translation is nibbana pati samutya, which is the attainment of nibbana, or the production of nibbana, which we'll find cannot be produced. Funny, isn't it? The path of liberation is often taught as something that you generate, produce, and you develop. Why I'm starting here is to instill in you, to rouse you, to incite you, to recognize there's nothing to be developed. It appears that you develop. But if you develop too many muscles, you get stiff. You're muscle bound. If you develop too few muscles, you're a weakling. So you must have spinach, like Popeye. You have to open the can and have some spinach. Dhamma kataya, the monks with a Dhamma talk connected with nibbana pati, the path, the producing of the attainment of nibbana, literal translation. Then we have those monks, those bhikkhus. Techa bhikkhu ati gatva manasikadva. This is very important. There is a word there where it says, with their entire awareness, attentive. Manasikara in Pali is full attentiveness. It describes, when the Buddha would describe in detail mindfulness, it was always accompanied with this word manasikara, mind fully attentive. Fully attentive mind. It's very important. Or applying their minds. Manasikadva. Attention to application. And one more before we take a little break. And so these two translations are a little bit different. They're both very good, but we have a phrase here: sabam chetaso sammana haritva, considering it with all their mind. So I'm giving you these as practice instructions. Considering it with all of your mind is loving the topic with all of your mind. Can you meet the topic with interest? Can you meet the being with interest? Right? It's key. Ohita sota dhammanam sanyati. They were listening to Dharma with an attentive ear. Lending an ear? No, actually means attentive ear. You don't lend your ear. But I kind of like that. Lending an ear. This is actually a mudra where you function like that. Just actually to push on the carotid artery, so you got it. Anyways, that's what it's for. But with an attentive ear, or in intent upon listening. That's actually literally what it means in the Pali, to be intent in listening. What kind of listening? Not having a fantasy or a dialogue going on, but to actually take it in intellectually, sharply intellectually, understand, but also to feel what it feels like. What does it feel like? What does it feel like? This is called the short path to awakening through hearing a Dharma discourse as you get it in the Dharma discourse. I think some of you attended the 2 months of teaching of Gampopa's Jewel and Liberation. Yeah. When we started that retreat on the Polish ocean lines, on the, which one was that? On the Krakow. That's the name of the ship. The Krakow. We used to call it. It was kind of one of their old freighters, Polish ocean freighters. We used to have a nickname for it, the Crack of Doom, the Krakow, the Crack of Doom. Anyways, it's a very old freighter. And when Namgyal Rinpoche started that body of teaching for 3 months, we all had our notebooks. We all brought our notebooks in, took our notebooks, and we were like this, put them away. Put them away. I'm not here. This is good. Put them away. You either get it by listening and hearing, or you don't get it. And when you come back the next class, you have an opportunity to get it and hear it. And if you don't, you have an opportunity for the next class. Put your book away and liberate through hearing the Dharma. It's great. So I have no notes from that, but I certainly have a feel for that. And of course, I've taught it many times. And Namgyal Rinpoche encouraged me to teach it. But isn't that wonderful? To come away and go, practice it after class, practice in class, and really hear it. So that's what it means to lend an ear. Lend an ear means to lend your giant ear to the room and really make an opportunity to not separate meditation, realization, path from the opportunity to hear the Dharma, and especially to hear these words from such a genius, the Shakyamuni Buddha of Dharma. And one more line, because then that's a good place to have a break. One more line. On that occasion, uttered this exalted utterance. The other translation here, then on realizing the significance of that, the Blessed One on that occasion exclaimed. You can see how many ways you can translate this. Yeah? There's no one way to translate Pali. There's no one way to translate. You also have to know your grammar. I don't. Not only have I forgotten my basic grammar of Pali from Dr. Warder, but I also learned from Dr. Warder and also Namgyal Rinpoche and others that the range of translations and how you bring out meaning is quite a lot to it. But you have to know your grammar. So we rely on a number of texts here. But this one here is then the fortunate one, having understood the significance of it, having understood the essence of what he was going to say, on that occasion uttered this exalted utterance, this most amazing. Actually, the word exalted, or the phrase exalted utterance, which is a stock phrase in the text, means literally a speech of triumph. I'm trying to give you a flavor for this. Translators pick one word or one phrase. It's not always literal, and it's not always the only one. I think that's very beautiful. A speech of triumph. It actually literally means breathed for this solemn utterance. That's the literal translation. It means breathe a solemn utterance. Cool. So what we get as a translation? Exclaim. But it's a triumphant exclamation of what the discovery of Dharma, or discovery of freedom, actually is. I think that's a good place to pause. Let's take a few minutes. Let's take 7 or 8 minutes and stretch or use the facilities and come back. And we'll come back just before 10:30 to go through the rest of the text. Yeah, good. Let's continue on with this extraordinary text. So this text is pointing out, it's an utterance, it's an exclamation, it's a triumphant, it's a speech of triumphant attainment, declaring what one will discover to rouse one on in sight beings to be interested in pursuing the awakening mind. So then he says, Ati, there is bhikkhus, monks, well, later on was correct, but early on not so, but beings in pursuit of liberation, bhikkhu, an unborn, ajata. Of course, jati or jata is born, and in front of that makes it the unborn. Abhutam, unbecoming, unproduced. Oh, bless you. Akatam, unmade. So these is what you're going to work with today. And unconditioned, asanka. Asankatam. So you have 4 words here. Unborn, unbecome or unproduced, unmade, and unconditioned. When we come to the word ajata, which means to develop, to be born, to arise, to grow, it means something that doesn't grow, something that is not produced, something that doesn't ever develop, something that is unborn because it doesn't either get birthed and it doesn't die. He's pointing out exactly what it is that you discovered. That's great, isn't it? And can you get your intellectual mitts on that one? No. That's why it's transcendent. Yes, you might be able to figure it out. You might go, okay, yes. But this is experiential. This is meditation. Unproduced. Yeah, okay. Unproduced. Unbecome. What does he have here? Become. Escape from, so unmade, unbecome, unmade. Now that's good. That's interesting. Akatam. Kata. Kata is from the word karoti, which is basically karma, to do. So it means not done, not worked over, not built, not made. That which is never constructed or made. Isn't that cool? These are what you're going to look for today. I want you to start this way, and then after that we're going to develop the muscles to find it and bring it forth. And then unconditioned. What does he have? Unfabricated. Yeah, literally unfabricated. That which is never built, that which is not a fabrication of mind. How would you know that? Skeptical ones here would say, well, it's all going to be fabricated. It would be a fabrication of mind. What you're looking for is the definitive experience, at least at the beginning, the definitive experience where there's not a shred of doubt that there is unborn, unbecome, unmade, and unfabricated. He's telling you exactly what Nibbana is. So when you see the common translation of peacefulness, what's meant is unborn, unbecome, unmade, and unfabricated. Now here's the logic of it, which sounds very Vajrayana, very third turning the wheel Dharma. If monks, and by the way, it means also bhikkhunis, nuns, if monks, there were not that unborn, the unbecome, the unmade, the unconditioned, you could not know an escape here. You couldn't actually have freedom. Escape here means freedom. So when it says escape, it means escape from that which is born, produced. Tells you where the suffering is. Tells you how mental affliction actually happens. Mental affliction is the attachment to that which is produced and fabricated by the mind. So if this wasn't natural, if it wasn't a natural condition that isn't born and doesn't die, it wouldn't be possible. All of liberation, all of awakening wouldn't be possible unless it's already the nature. Does that make any sense? You can't do it. For 2,500 years, people would have been fabricating liberation to their teachers. And their teachers would be fabricating it to their teachers. Eventually, it stops working. You know what I mean? Yeah. You could not know an escape from dukkha. So what's the nature of dukkha? Born, become, made, and conditioned. Isn't that straightforward? It is such an elegant description. That's what ties us up in knots. Fabricating a construction that actually doesn't have any substantial reality. It might in a relative sense. There is warm water here, conceptually, for a human being of a certain conditioning, but it doesn't truly exist. But that's nice. What ties beings in knots? That's also the subject for this week. What is it that really causes this mental affliction? Wars, internal distress, dis at ease, distraction, pain, friction, greed, lust, anger, rage, friction, irritation, delusion, stupidity, pride, and jealousy. What's the cause of all that? Exactly this. Fabrication. Fabricating an existence, fabricating an experience that actually truly has no basis in reality. And if the freedom wasn't there, then there would be no escape from it. So what I want you to look for today, we're starting very high. Then we're going to go build some muscles for this. What I want you to, and some of you have already experienced this, so you know where to look. You're not going to look anywhere, but you know where to look. There's no place to look, but you're going to go try to find it. When during the day is there no, just use this as a meditation. This is given out as a meditation. Where is there no becoming? Where is there no fabrication? What is unfabricated? Where is unfabricated? Why unfabricated? Why unborn? Why unbecome? Where unbecome? Is this unbecome? Is this unbecome? You could do that, literally. Is that made in China? No, okay. Is that unbecome? Is this unbecome? Where is this? If the Buddha was such a genius, why don't you go and pick up every stone and look under the tent and under your foot? Go hunt for the born, the become, the made, and the conditioned, and then look for the unborn, the unbecome, the unmade, and the unconditioned. That's what we do. He's rousing you. He's inciting you not to a riot, not to storm the Parliament buildings, not to take down something that you feel is in your way, but to discover what is inherent right here, right now. That's freedom. Beautiful. What's built? What's naturally unbuilt. And then, but because there is an unborn, an unbecome, an unmade, an unconditioned, therefore you do not know escape. You do not know real freedom. You don't know real liberation. So what do we do when we don't know real liberation? We pick targets. We pick enemies. We pick something else, but the direct route to focus our interest in. If I was just calm, I'd feel great. If I could just take my mask on, I'd feel free. Mask off, I'd feel free. If I went for a walk, I could feel better. Then I have freedom. If we could all fly again and get on planes, I'd feel free. If I had that idea, I'd feel free. So you see how it is? If I could just get my cell phone and look up something, I feel better. I feel more freedom. But where's the freedom? Where's the ultimate freedom? The unconditioned freedom. The unfabricated freedom. And the Buddha's saying, it's always there. It's the way all experience actually is. That's what we're going for. Then you're going to say, great. We don't want to leave it like that. That's like that's cherry picking. This would be like cherry picking and saying, this is it. What the Buddha described for 40 years is the qualities that come out of the discovery of the unborn, not just the unborn. We don't just discover the non-dual, the undifferentiated, the unity. But out of that discovery comes amazing qualities. Those are called Buddha qualities. Those are called the qualities of the awake mind. That's what we're here for. Thank you, Tashi, for the exclamation there. That's it for today. So look for the born, look for the made, the becoming, and the conditioned, and see if you can spot like a safari, like being on safari, slowing down, relaxing, being bright, pausing, stopping 100 times today. Stop. Stop. Stop walking. Stop sitting. Let's try it right now. Okay, ready? I want you to all sit. Now stop sitting. Unmake, unfabricate the sitting. Feel your body. Feel your mind. Feel your energy. What does it feel like? What would you do with your hands? Can you feel the body, the sensations made up, bound? How do you unbind? Unbind it. Like this? How do you do it? Is that cool? That's your task today. We'll come back this evening, and I'm going to help you with that. But what are you going to do when you're sitting and you want to unsit, but you don't get up? You're here, and you got a dilemma. You want freedom, but how? Like this, like this, like this, like this, like this, like this, like that. You know, you see all these people, meditate like this. No, you meditate like that. You meditate like this. No, you meditate like that. This is the proper mudra. No, this is the proper mudra. That is the proper mudra. Doesn't it drive you nuts? How many of you have heard like for like decades how to meditate? Right? This is the meditation. This is the one Dharma discourse you need. This is the practice that you need. Isn't that amazing? Don't you ever kind of wonder if that's what it's really about? It's going to drive you nuts. And if you sit here like this, or stand, you should feel at some point absolutely bewildered and nuts. And if you do, you're on the right path. If you don't, you've still got a problem. So if you're sitting here like this, and you get that little skeptical mind going, oh my goodness, what am I doing? You're on the right path. Because the binding, you can feel the binding. And the organism just doesn't know what to do to unbecome, unmake, unbind, experience the unborn, the absolute natural freedom of mind. Not mind states, mind. So that's where we start. I think you've got an email to check. and have a sense of humor. Really. It's really amazing. Tortured, wound up, become fabricated. Why? Ever wonder why? Extraordinary. Ever have a sense of peace and harmony? Yeah. And then it vanishes? You go, God, I'd like to have that again. Feel absolutely great. Where'd it go? It's bewildering. Okay. Let's make so see you this evening at 7:30, and we're going to begin to work on the unfabricating, the unbinding, the loosening, the unraveling, step by step. And yeah. Let's make a short dedication and aspiration. Short but deep. I believe page 18.